It's Michelle here from Lion Art Studio. Today I'm working on a horse portrait I painted on my iPad in the app Procreate. I'm starting with the background and the basic layers, which will be the horse's skin, the shadows, the mane, the bit and the bridle. I like to keep them on separate layers, it's easier to work that way. I quickly establish the lighting, getting down the main shadows and highlights. You can see that here, and I'll have the shadows on a separate layer and highlights on another separate layer from that. I use a layer for each element, and then as I go along I'll flatten them once I'm happy. Horses are very, very oily, especially when they've been working hard like this guy. They have a lot of sweat on them, and it's all that oil and sweat becomes very glossy, and highlights are often very, very, very sharp on a horse. This breed's an Andalusian, which is a very thick set but very athletic horse, very athletic breed. You see them doing a lot of dressage, and actually the Spanish, they are a Spanish breed, and you'll see them like Lipsanas. The Andalusians are a extremely clever breed and do amazing dressage and PFs, which is jumping in the air, and yeah, they're quite amazing. They're beautiful animals. Very, very intelligent. Here I'm just creating the mane and adding some highlights to that as well. I like to work throughout the painting as one. So yeah, just keeping it all tight and all together. I've chosen a blue for the highlights on the mane because I've got that blue in the background. I'm not 100% on what I'm going to do in the background yet. It won't remain like as it is at the moment, but I'll think about that as I establish the painting further. Now I'm starting to paint the bridle on a separate layer again. There's the reins and the bridle itself. That's the bit. The bit's made out of metal, so it's usually silver. I haven't really seen any gold bits before. They're usually like a base silver metal. The noseband and everything I do, I'm thinking about the form. I'm thinking about where my light's coming from and just building that form. You can see me adding brush strokes there. I'm trying to find a nice brush that will create hair, a nice fur texture on the horse's body. No, I've got another layer for this. As you can see, I'm adding and deleting as I'm trying out various brushes. And their skin, I mean, their fur isn't all one colour, like you won't have every hair being exactly the same colour, so I like to lay down some different colours just to give it some variation to show that. And here I'm starting to add the veins. The veins are really important on horses, especially when they're exercising like this guy. They're very close to the surface, and as the blood circulates throughout the body, it thermoregulates the horse's temperature. It actually cools the blood. That's why the veins stick out like that. And to create the veins, I just do a highlight and then a shadow on the opposite side facing away from where the light source is. It's my light source coming from the top left-hand side. Now I'm just building on the colours and the form. It's a constant push-pull. Adding more light, adding more shadows, creating that form and making it look three-dimensional. Some more of that fur texture. This is the beauty of layers. Now I've turned off some layers when I need to. And then I can just turn them back on once I've finished working on a layer that needed to be by itself. References, people. Use references. I have about 4 or 5 references, even though I know horses really, really well. It's still great to have references on your subject sitting there so you can add more realism to your image. It's those little details and things that make a difference. At the moment I've still got my actual drawing, the sketch on. It's on the very top of all my layers on a multiply layer. And that way I can see all the layers underneath, and the sketch over the top helps me. Sorry, I haven't done one of these for a while. I'm a little bit rusty on the talking. I find it hard as it is, so bear with me. I'm trying to get better at it. I just can't draw and paint and talk at the same time. I just can't do that, so I have to do the voiceover, and it sounds a little bit robotic and funny, I know, but I'll get there eventually. I hope you guys don't mind too much. You can see I'm just keep adding and taking away, adding more highlights when it's needed. More fur detail. And I use a blender. I love using a blender. It really helps create an element of realism. So I'll softly blend the fur a little bit, and then I'll paint some more over the top and blend it out a little bit more. And See how great it is being able to turn layers on and off like that. Once I'm happy and once I've got to a certain point, I will start to flatten those layers, and I'll be flattening as I'm going along. I'll do the base, I'll do some shadows, I'll flatten it. I'll do some fur and I'll flatten those layers. You can't see it on this, I'm sorry. Yeah, I need to think about recording the whole screen so that you can see what I'm actually doing with my brushes. And not really using the sketch as much now. I've turned it off for the most part. I may turn it on a little bit just for some details if I feel like I'm losing it a little bit. Sorry, I had a break here, so turned it off. Now I'm thinking about the background more, added some texture, and that's just some really random texture brushes and things. And then I overlaid, I've got some really cool overlays, and they're like these old written letters. And I'll just put that over the top on a multiply or an overlay. It just depends, whatever blend mode that you like. And you can either mask out the image of the horse or whatever subject you're painting, or you can just erase it, whatever suits you. And it just creates, yeah, something a little bit special in the background. It's not hard to do at all. The texture brushes I was using in the back they're a pack that I got that has industrial and buildings and things like that, but they create really cool textures that you can just blend up a little bit, and yeah, I love the effect of them. I'm really starting to just refine all the details now. A few loose hairs, the hairs on the muzzle, the little details in the eyes and on the bridle. And more hair texture, more fur texture. A few darker hairs throughout the fur. Making sure I get those folds in the skin and the muscle, and it compresses and releases on a horse, creates all these ripples, and the light will shine on that, and then you'll have areas that will be in shadow. So I'm just trying to make sure that I get all that correct. Now this is the last really teeny weeny little details and things. And they are slick and shiny and beautiful, but they still have that fur over the top. So yeah, I just try to establish that. Looks pretty random without the layers on the top. I'm pretty much nearly done here. Be adding some more highlights in a minute. Making sure everything's tight and the brightest highlights. That shiny slick fur and skin. And that's this guy done. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry, I know, yeah, it's a bit hard to follow, but I'm getting there. I really hope you enjoyed watching me paint this guy as much as I enjoyed painting him. He's a really beautiful horse. Really beautiful to watch. And an absolute joy to paint too, yeah. So that's how I draw and paint a horse and do a background overlay like that also. Have an awesome day, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. There's lots of stuff coming soon, including I'm going to be starting to put together a pack of brushes and things for Procreate. And yeah, this is the very end. Bit of light just to add something to it. My signature logo, and it's finished. Thanks.